I find Anna Kasparian's recent political development and maturation to be a very interesting thing because she's providing us with an exemplary example of how a person comes to leave an ideology. Because often people find themselves falling into ideological thinking or being essentially captured and then programmed by an ideology without her really realizing it. Because the ideology gives you a set of quite reasonable propositions. Well, maybe we should help the homeless. Maybe we should make sure there's no overt racial discrimination. Maybe we should do X, Y, or Z. And once they become the kind of foundations of your worldview, well, you can start building logical conclusions on top of it. And those logical conclusions become propositional in their own right. And therefore, now there's more, until you eventually have created a very rigid, abstract framework around yourself that, if it is attacked, makes you feel like the world is about to collapse. And if it is defeated, makes you feel like you are under a tremendous amount of oppression and that you are in particular danger, even though actually, in reality, if you take yourself out of the ideology for a moment, you realise that there's no particular danger to you at all, and actually nothing terrible is going to happen. And I think this is the process that has happened to Anna Kasparian. So Liberal Hive Mind has done a really good little thread here, calling back to the 2016 election where you can see, I mean, I'll play it, just she's so highly strung.
Women voting against women. I have no respect for women who voted for Trump. Okay?
Yeah, me too.
I think so poorly of them, and the reason why is because, look, I don't think that you're a single issue voter. I just think you're dumb. Okay? I think you're fucking dumb. When you vote for someone who openly treats women like second-class citizens, who talks about them as if they're nothing more than a piece of meat, who has been accused of sexually assaulting them, who has been caught on tape talking about groping them and grabbing them by the pussy without consent, yeah, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Yes. Okay? You are voting against your best interests.
Right. So there we have a very feminist interpretation of Donald Trump. And one that, if you again step out of the ideology, go, okay, but how much danger from Donald Trump personally is the average woman going to be in? And the answer is, of course, not very. And so but in that moment, she's characterizing tens of millions of women as being just incredibly stupid because they disagree with her politically. Now, this is, again, because her ideology has failed and she feels personally under attack. She feels that personally she's in danger. And this is what she is now projecting onto millions of women who are just really stupid to not understand that they're in danger now also of Donald Trump. Of course, 4 years went by. Donald Trump didn't molest any women. Everything was going quite well, actually. And then Joe Biden won for reasons unknown. But then she describes in 2022 how, being on the left, you have a certain presupposed attitude to certain categories that the left has decided are their kind of the foundational propositions of their ideology. And one of those is homeless people are victims of society. They have done nothing to deserve it, and it's not anything to do with the character of those people that has put them in that situation. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. What I'm saying is that's fundamentally what they believe. And so, again, like with all women, well, I've created an ideological category of women. Therefore, women, for voting for some, stupid. Well, I've created an ideological category, homeless people, victims. Victim means powerless. And so this is, I think, where she really began to be popped out of the bubble, because she was sexually assaulted by a homeless man. I'm not going to play this because it goes on for 2.5 minutes, and you can see that this is a very uncomfortable thing for her, but she talks about how she was essentially grabbed by this homeless guy and sort of assaulted, and she felt humiliated, but also shameful. And like, notice the characterization, homeless community, as if homeless people are all just a shared interest group that hang out together and they know each other. Obviously, none of the sort. It's a very different thing. You don't know each individual's reason for being homeless. Some of them are drug addicts who will literally assault women in their own back gardens or front gardens. And so this got her thinking, okay, maybe it's not actually good to have loads of homeless people around. Maybe they need help. Maybe the public needs protection from them, etc., etc. And then you have the particularly hardline feminist view on what being a woman is, which is, well, anything, actually. It's a pretty shapeless, formless, timeless entity, instead of being an adult human female. And this means, of course, that they can't refer to women as women. They have to refer to them as something else, because if you refer to a biological woman as a woman, you're being trans exclusionary. And so they were calling them birthing persons. And as a woman, Hannah was like, well, that seems like it's kind of dehumanizing, actually. It makes women sound like baby factories. It doesn't seem to have any dignity. And so she found, again, another point of ideological difference between her, or not even ideological, just moral difference between her and the movement that she thought she was a part of and was a part of. And so, no, a woman is an adult human female. They give birth to children. We're not merely birthing machines. We don't need to be called birthing persons. Pretty good. Anna Kasparian as well, very critical of the Democrats themselves, because they are failures, obviously. How Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden intended to run for president, as she was complaining about here, but how Kamala Harris got the nomination is remarkable, because she was massively unpopular within her own party, not popular in the United States. Why they thought that she was going to beat Trump is, who knows. But the point is, it gets to this point here, and this is superb, where Anna is just, okay, no, I'm done with all of this nonsense. This is a great little rant.
The biggest change that some of you might have noticed with me is that I'm done with the identitarian garbage. I'm done with it. It is a giant distraction, and the more we focus on it, and it's definitely very obvious to me when it comes to the left, the people who are supposed to be fighting for a better economic system, better economic conditions, better working conditions, all of that stuff pushed aside. Let's focus on the identitarian stuff. And the identitarian stuff by nature divides us and leads to more fights, more conflict, even among us. But that's the point. Anyway, sorry.
That is a superb analysis of the issue of the left right now. And honestly, it's the left that's the problem. Yeah, it does seem to be. She's arrived at the sort of 2015 Sargon position that, yeah, no, the left just has a congenital problem here. And she's absolutely right, where at the moment, none of the left seem to be criticising, say, Keir Starmer, being like, yeah, so I'm going to sign up Britain up to whatever the BlackRock plan is. And everyone on the left's like, well, as long as he's not being racist. It's like, sorry, no, I don't agree with that. That's crazy. And Liberal Hive Mind here points out that she's not a conservative, but she's now, he doesn't say she's leaving ideology, but I think that's what's happening, right? And she did, I think this is Chris Williams' Modern Wisdom podcast. And this, again, is a great proof of what I'm talking about when it comes to ideology, because she was in this left-wing political environment for decades. For decades she's been doing this. And it sort of, if you watch The Young Turks, I used to watch The Young Turks like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. Jen and Anna are quite relaxed people, actually. They weren't very ideological, and they would have fun. And that's why they got millions of subscribers in the first place, because they were having fun. And then politics became very, very serious with identity politics. And then Donald Trump became an issue. And as she points out, Donald Trump essentially broke her brain. And she let this happen because she had the rigid ideological propositional structure around her. She projected it out into the world. And that wasn't able to do what she thought it was going to do. So it can't have been true. Let's watch it.
I think that politics has substituted religion to some extent. People have almost like this religious zealotry toward their political beliefs. And when that happens, it's really difficult to have a conversation with someone without it immediately devolving into allegations of bad faith, of lying, deception, all sorts of things. And so maybe that's part of it. But honestly, I didn't really notice this as an issue in America until Donald Trump was running for president, and then after he got elected as president. And I am 1,000,000% guilty of honestly allowing him to kind of break my brain for a little bit, because I saw him as such a significant threat.
Now, isn't that interesting? I allowed him to break my brain because I saw him as such a significant threat. It is. It's a threat to everything that you have built up on the foundation. If Trump is a threat to all of that, then you're essentially your entire moral worldview. She calls it spiritual adaptation here, and she's basically right. It's moral. It's entirely moral. which is what religion used to be. Go back 200 years and explain to someone that you were an atheist, and what you're essentially saying to them is, I don't believe in morality. And so you can see why this void has been filled by ideological politics. And so all of these ideological precepts are built on moral foundations, and if they're not working, if they're not true, if they can't bring about the results that you're looking for, then essentially your moral worldview is under attack. And finally, there's this this very, very interesting part here. Because people will say, okay, well, if we're not being ideological, what are we being? And Anna here explains how it's a guy called Jeff that she knew and was friends with that changed her mind on Trump. Now, what does that mean? Well, Anna is friends with Jeff. She has a relationship with Jeff. And the relationship they share is unique. It can't be shared with anyone else. It's just her and Jeff's relationship, whatever the nature of it is. And the fact that she and Jeff get on well means the relationship is strong and she's happy to have the relationship. And whenever she has to engage with Jeff, it makes her day better. You know, whenever you're engaging with someone that you like, your day improves. And Jeff turned out to be a Trump supporter. And Anna realized through her relationship with Jeff that actually Trump supporters are not necessarily evil.
And so I'm like trying to get his bicycle like up the stairs, and all of a sudden this man stops me. His name's Jeff, and he's like, "Hey, let me help you out with that." And he starts helping me out. He stopped everything he was doing to help me out. And then Jeff and I became very close. You know, one of my neighbors who I really like, he was my favorite person in the entire building. And years go by. One day we're in an HOA meeting, homeowners association, and one of the people living in the building said something about Trump that was negative. I don't remember what it is. And Jeff whispers in my ear, "Oh, she's going to start trashing Trump. I'm out of here." And it hit me that he's a Trump supporter. We had never talked about politics before. And I'm like, so I got to know Jeff before I knew what his politics were. Incredibly kind guy. He helps everyone in this building with anything they might need. And so that woke me up to, wait a minute, not all Trump supporters are like dangerous, evil individuals. And yes, it was stupid that I thought that to begin with. Like, I'm embarrassed admitting that, but it's just how I believed. And that kind of was one of the moments where it's like a light bulb went off and something was telling me, you need to scratch beneath the surface a little more because you don't have a realistic view of what's going on here.
That is the alternative to an ideological worldview, a personal worldview, a relational worldview, a worldview in which the character of the person actually matters rather than their professed ideological moral beliefs. Anyone can memorize a set of propositions and then spew them out and say, see, I have spewed out the correct propositions like a shibboleth. Now you will let me in the club and consider me a good person. And anyone who doesn't do that, or perhaps even repudiates that way of looking at things, for example, Trump supporters, well, they're now all evil. Well, that's more than half the country in the United States at this point, isn't it? So it's probably not the case that actually overnight half the country of the United States has become irredeemably evil. What it probably is that the people who are calling those people evil themselves have what Elon Musk calls the woke mind virus, as in a highly ideological worldview that requires compliance, or else the entire thing feels like it's under attack. And honestly, I'm really impressed with the way that Anna's come out of this. I'm sure I don't agree with Anna on various individual policy proposals and solutions, but the point isn't about the individual policy proposal or solution, because people have different reasons for supporting different things. You don't have to have one entire view that supports everything. The fact that Anna has done self-reflection on this and said, right, I think the way that I was looking at the world was just not good. It turned me into the kind of person I didn't like. And I realized through the people that I did like who supported Trump that actually there was a better way of approaching what I do. And that's, again, it's a superb example of how this process operates. And the more that we can get this done, the more that we can talk to people and treat them like normal human beings, the better politics and our countries in general will be.